Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing some Zombie World test hands. This is a really fun deck that's really budget, actually, to be able to build the main deck. The extra deck is a little bit more expensive, but there is a couple of cards in the extra that you can change out if you want to make it a little bit more budget, and we'll get into that a little later. And if you want to check out the deck profile of this, it is down in the description below. You guys can check out the deck profile. I did mention what you could change out to make it a little bit more budget, but basically you just need 3 structure decks of the Zombie World structure deck to build this, which is pretty cool. But without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name in the description for every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting a requested deck profile just like this one every single month that you are a patron. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight on into this. This is a really cool deck that basically functions around the field spell Zombie World and has some really amazing soft lock aspects to this deck. It's really cool that they actually have some control aspect to this deck and makes it super neat to be able to actually play zombies. And the really cool thing about this is if you guys are planning on building a deck that has anything synergizing with zombies, you can actually pick up the 3 Zombie World structure decks and they'll pretty much go in any zombie deck, which is what's really cool about zombies. You can actually put Doom King Baller Draught. It's a small engine. You play like 2 King Doom King Baller Draught, 2 copies of Necro World Banshee, 2 copies of Glow Up Bloom, and 3 copies of Zombie World, and you can essentially throw it in any zombie deck, and 3 copies of Unizombie, and you can essentially throw it in any zombie deck and make it work, which is what's really cool. It's kind of the meat and potatoes in the deck. So let's go ahead and do some test hands of this deck. As long as you can establish Zombie World, you're usually alright. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of our Called by the Grave, because it is zombies. You are kind of getting called by the grave if you're playing this deck. Yeah, we really are. We're getting called twice. You might as well pick that phone up. We're going to go ahead and draw again, which we're getting Super Poly, which is not bad. Shiranui, Swallow, Slash, and a copy of Ash Blossom. Usually zombies like to go second, so we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Shiranui Solitaire. So this is not a bad hand, and it's totally fixed by the Shiranui Solitaire, because what you're going to do is normal summon out the Shiranui Solitaire to your side of the field, and your opponent's going to try and Ash Blossom you when you do this, but you're going to go ahead and activate the Call by the Grave to stop your opponent from doing that. Special summon out a copy of Unizombie to your side of the field, and this is why Unizombie and Shiranui Solitaire are kind of like the bread and butter of the deck and make the entire deck work, which is what's really cool about this deck. So you have a couple of options here that you could actually do. I would actually recommend going ahead and sending your copy of Necro Netherworld Banshee to the graveyard, because when you do that, you can actually banish her to be able to activate a copy of Zombie World to your side of the field, which is going to help you out quite a lot with that Super Poly that's in your hand. So, if your opponent tries to do anything else, you have 3 back rows that can actually get rid of a board, which is helpful, stop another hand trap, and then this can blow the copy of Unizombie off the field, and then destroy 2 cards on their opponent's side of the field. So you essentially have a board wipe just in these 2 cards and a hand trap as well. So you have quite the back row and then disruption against your opponent. So if you pass turn, you can always activate the copy of Ash Blossom, and then if your opponent does do anything against you, you can activate the copy of Super Polymerization, and since everything's a zombie on your side of the field and theirs, you can special summon out a copy of your Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon. I would highly recommend to you guys, though, that you use this very sparingly and last, because you want to keep the Unizombie on your side of the field to resolve its effect again. You also have that Call by the Grave as well if your opponent does any graveyard effects. So if you pass turn, again back to me, and I get to keep my field, I draw into a copy of Glow Up Bloom. Glow Up Bloom is going to help out quite a lot in this deck, because what you're going to do now is you're going to use that Unizombie on your side of the field, and you're going to send from your deck to the graveyard any of your zombie monsters that you feel like you need in the graveyard. I usually, rule of thumb, want to keep a copy of my Mizuki in the graveyard so I can resolve more zombie effects faster, which is super helpful. Now we're going to go ahead and get our Baller Drop, because you're going to normal summon out your copy of your Glow Up Bloom, and you're going to link them together into a copy of any of these monsters. Now, what I mentioned in the deck profile, and I'll mention now, is you don't actually have to play Access Code Talker. You can drop the Access Code Talker if you want to, and you can play something else like a copy of Borreload, which I've mentioned just about in every single one of my deck profiles, that you don't have to play the $70 card. You can play Borreload instead. It doesn't cripple the deck. So in this particular instance, I would play the Vampire Sucker, linking these 2 together and summoning Vampire Sucker right up here into that zone, and then your copy of Glow Up Bloom Bloom will trigger special summoning out your copy of Doom King Baller Draught onto your side of the field. You'll then shuffle up the deck, and then you can use the copy of Vampire Sucker to special summon a zombie out of your opponent's graveyard, which everything's a zombie, so you revive the weakest card that they have, put it on their side of the field, and then you get to draw a card, which is going to help you out quite a lot. So let's go ahead and shuffle that deck, go ahead and cut it really quick, and we're going to draw into a copy of Shirnui Solitaire. Normal summon out the Solitaire, tribute the Solitaire. Well, you already normal summon this turn, so you can't normal summon out that because you normal summon out the Glow Bloom. I was just ready to go. Now, if your opponent does activate anything at this point, you can use the copy of Swallow Slash and go ahead and get rid of the Baller Drop because it's just going to revive itself next turn on their standby phase and give you an additional negation, which is super nice. Then you have your Necro Nether Soul that's giving you additional tokens, which then you can use those to link away to go into your copies of your Cerberus, which is just 2 monsters with different names, your Phoenix, your Unicorn, and your Access Code Talker later. And then you can also use them to go into your Verte Anaconda, which is essentially like a Super Poly all day long, which is really, really, really nice. So that's it for the first test hand. You did establish a really good board. The hand that you started with wasn't that great, but as you notice with zombies, they have, a lot of recovery potential. I mean, that's kind of ironic because they're zombies and they were dead and my hand was dead and I know I have to explain my joke. So let's go ahead and see what we can actually pull off in this next one and see what we can do with this next test hand. So hopefully we don't get a dead hand and we get an undead hand this time. So let's see if we can actually pull an undead hand. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle that deck up. And this is why I really mention you guys always pile shuffle. It makes the difference. So we're going to draw into a Necro Netherworld, a copy of your Call by the Grave, Unizombie, your copy of Super Poly, and another Zombie World. This is a really good hand. You have a lot of setup here. If we're going first, though, we have some really, really, really good aspects to this. Go ahead and activate your Zombie World, which is going to be the first play out of the gate. If your opponent hits it, you have the copy of Necro Netherworld in your hand that you can get another one in a second if you need it. But I would always normal summon out the Unizombie. You really want, when you're playing zombies, you really, 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 really want a way that you can always get to this card because it is so pivotal. And if you're going second, you can actually use your copy of Super Poly before you even go here. Before you even go here, activate the copy of your Zombie World. Use the copy of Super Poly, discard the Necro Netherworld Banshee, use 2 monsters on your opponent's side of the field, and immediately break their board and summon out your copy of your Necro Nether Soul, which you've essentially just broke their board because usually they only have like 2 negates. If they have an Appaloosa and a copy of, I don't know, Borload Savage Dragon, you can just instantly get rid of them both with your copy of your Super Poly, which is really amazing with Zombie World. Like, as long as this card is at 3, play it at 3 in every zombie deck that plays Zombie World. Then you're going to normal summon out your copy of your Unizombie, which I always would send from deck to graveyard. If I have the Zombie World on my side of the field, I always send my copy of Glow Up Bloom to the graveyard, which will then banish itself, which we didn't do before, but you need to keep that in mind, to special summon out our copy of Baller Draught to our side of the field, which is going to be super, super helpful to this card. I believe it special summons in defense, or does it special summon in attack? This card is sent to the graveyard. You can banish it. If Zombie World's on the field, you can special summon it to your field instead. No, it just special summons it, excuse me. So it doesn't matter. At this point, you could attack into your opponent, which I would probably recommend attacking with the copy of your Nether Necro Soul, which will give you a token. Attack with the Baller Draught, and then attack with the Unizombie, because they're not going to have usually that many monsters. You can use the token as well to attack, which is pretty nice. I like that. In the main phase 2, you'd use the token that you'd have here from your copy of your Necro Nether Soul Dragon, give yourself that token, link it away, and link away the Unizombie to summon out a Vampire Sucker onto your side of the field, which will then give you the ability to special summon a zombie from your graveyard or from your opponent's graveyard to their side of the field, which then lets you draw a card, which is going to be really helpful for the deck. Which you're going to draw into a Glow Up Bloom. You also have the copy of Call by the Grave. If your opponent tries to ash you at any point in this combo, you have the copy of Call by the Grave that could stop your opponent as well. And then we have another Baller Draught coming. So if your opponent does get rid of the Baller Draught, you can always just link this away and get rid of it. Or you could have kept the Unizombie, because that's probably what I would have done. I probably would have kept the Unizombie and used the token that was face down right here. and then linked these two away and kept the Unizombie on my side of the field, because then during your opponent's turn, guess what? That copy of Baller Draw is going to come right back because you can't keep him dead. He just keeps coming back over and over again, which is really cool. So if we go into our next turn, which we're going to go ahead and just act like we are, I would probably normal summon regardless of what I get. I'd probably normal summon out the copy of Glow Up Bloom just to get it onto my side of the field, or you could keep it in your hand. And since this is a level 4, you're going to normal summon out that copy of Gozuki, send from your deck to the graveyard a copy of Mizuki, and then you can use the copy of your Mizuki and your Unizombie to synchro summon together a monster, which would be a copy of your Void Ogre, because you're going to get a normal summon out, or you're going to get a special summon out because you have the copy of Gozuki that's in your graveyard, because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish one zombie monster and then special summon a zombie monster from your hand, which you could banish something like your copy of Unizombie, or you could banish out a copy of your Necro Netherworld Banshee to special summon out your copy of Glow Up Bloom, and then you have a spell and trap negate, and you have another monster negate right here, and then you can use the copy of your Unizombie or your copy of Mizuki in the graveyard to immediately special summon it back if you want to your side of the field. Now you have the copy of Unizombie that you can use to send from deck to graveyard another zombie monster that might potentially help you out in the long term, which would be another copy of Mizuki, which is going to help you out quite a lot. Now, with this particular field, you could again use the copy of Vampire Sucker to give them another monster on their side of the field, and then you get to draw a card, which was Rivalry, which is going to shut your entire opponent's board down. Because with the way that Rivalry works is in this deck is if you have zombies on the field and this is making everything a zombie on the field, unless you're playing a mirror match, your opponent cannot normal summon or set anything, or normal summon anything that is a zombie monster, or special summon anything that's not a zombie monster. So this is a really insane soft lock in the deck. If you have Zombie World and Rivalry of Warlords on your side of the field, they can't summon, they can't play, which is what's really cool about the Rivalry. You can then use this field to be able to start link summoning away. You can link summon away these two together to be able to down climb, which is going to give you a dark in the graveyard to go into your copy of Cerberus, and then link these away to go into Phoenix, and then link these away to go into a copy of your decode, or your access code talker, and then use the copy of access code talker, which you have now 3 attributes in the graveyard, which is Earth, your Fire, and your copy of your Dark monster, and it's at 42, which is really cool, which is the meaning of the existence. And then you can banish these 3 from the graveyard and pop 3 cards on your opponent's side of the field, have a spell and trap negation, and then have a 3k beat stick, 3k, 42, OTK your opponent, and if they do make it through, you have the copy of Rivalry, because you're trying to drag them down into the grave, essentially. So, let's go ahead and do another test hand. As you can see, zombies are pretty insane, and they're very simple the way that they work. You're essentially just trying to get as many zombie monsters on your side of the field as possible to be able to link climb and synchro climb, which is what's really neat about this deck. And don't forget, you had the Mizuki in the graveyard that you could have put the Baller Drop back on the field too by banishing the second copy of Mizuki that was in the graveyard, which is what's really neat about this deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck up and see what we can do with this next hand. This is why I love zombies so much, is they're so versatile. Like what I said in the deck profile, if you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is in the description below. But what's really cool about zombies is that you can pretty much pick a zombie that you really like. Any zombie in the entire monster lineup of zombies, and say, okay, I really like Unizombie, and build any zombie deck based around it. Like I have a Burning Skullhead zombie deck. Like that's just cool that you can pick any zombie, and it essentially works with this engine, and that's what's really neat. So let's go ahead and go into the next test hand and see what we can actually pull off. So for the next test hand, let's say we like to go first. Let's go ahead and say we're going first. So we're going to draw into a Call by the Grave. God, I think we've drawn that first every single time. I think we drew Glow Bloom the first time, but guys, watch out, because I don't know what's happening, but the grave is calling me, and I don't want to go yet. We're going to go ahead and draw into Shiranui Style Slash, a copy of Super Polymerization, Unizombie, and a Shiranui Solitaire. If we're going second, I'm just going to reveal it to you guys. You're going to get Doom King, which is not going to super help you out with this hand, but we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of our Unizombie, which is going to help out a little bit because, well, yeah, let's go ahead and normal summon out the Unizombie. I would normal summon out the Unizombie, and then I would send from deck to graveyard my copy of my Banshee, banish her, activate the copy of Zombie World, and then you have this kind of... Zombies sometimes with their first, like, it's kind of ironic because when a zombie plague outbreaks, like, it's very fragile to begin with, because if you can stop the first one, it's just over with. And the zombie deck kind of works the same way. If you can stop the first one, it's kind of in a bad situation. You don't have a way to actually get more zombies, which is good and bad. So we're going to go ahead and banish that, get the copy of Zombie World on our side of the field, and then you, just like the first hand, you have 3 negates, which you have the copy of Called by the Grave, you have the Swallow Slash, and you have the copy of Super Polymerization. So when your opponent goes, you can immediately interrupt them anywhere that you want with the copy of Zombie World, and then summon out your copy of the Necro Netherworld Dragon. This card is insanely good. Summon out the Necro Netherworld Dragon, and then you basically hit 2 cards on their side of the field and summoned out that. You have the copy of Swallow Slash that you could pop your copy of your Unizombie, and you have the copy of Called by the Grave if you need it. But if you can outlast your opponent, if this card is not going to get destroyed, just save it. Go into your next turn, which we didn't go into the deck, did we? No. Yeah, we did. We got the copy of Unizombie. I don't think I shuffled. That's why I drew Baller Drought. I saw Baller Drought and I was like, wait a minute, I touched the deck and I didn't shuffle. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle the deck. And if we did, we just Destiny drew out Baller Drought. We're going to go ahead and draw, and we're going to draw into another. Goodness gracious, this card loves me. I need to get a Call by the Grave tattoo. But with this card, with like the finger pointing, that'd be really cool. So what this card does is basically at this point, you're going to use this Unizombie. The Unizombie is going to help out a lot because I would probably send the copy of my Glow Bloom to the graveyard and go ahead and just right out banish it and special summon out your copy of Baller Drought. And then you have this really good board again that you can just immediately get whatever you need onto your side of the field because you have the copy of Called by the Grave, you have the second copy of Swallow Slash, and you have the copy of Called by the Grave here. Let's go ahead and do one more. That one wasn't quite as insane as the first one, but you got what you needed out of that particular test hand, which is what the deck does. And it's essentially Unizombie pass, or Unizombie setting some negations with Zombie World on the field pass, and then go off against your opponent the next turn, which is what the deck really does. And even if you're just using the Unizombie to bait out some hand traps, you're still going to have some plays as long as you can get Zombie World on your side of the field. If you get Zombie World plus Rivalry, it's over with. Like, unless your opponent opens like a Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister, or something like that, it's game over, man. It's not going to go very well. Let's go ahead and do a quick test hand. We're going to go ahead and draw Rivalry, Fraulein, Super Poly, Gozuki, and a copy of... You got it. I mean, that's it right there. You can't fight this. You go... Goodness gracious. You go Gozuki effect, send from deck to graveyard your copy, activate your copy of Zombie World. Send from deck to graveyard, Glow Bloom, banish the Glow Bloom, special summon out your copy of Baller Drought to your side of the field, shuffle the deck, and then go into a copy, set your Super Poly, set your copy of Rivalry, and pass. When your opponent goes on their turn, you flip the copy of Rivalry. If your opponent can stop the Rivalry, then you have the copy of Super Poly, and they're already going to exhaust at least a card in their hand. They have 6 when they start. They're going to stop it with 1. They have 5 left. You're going to use this, get 2 more out of them. They have 3 cards that they can deal with you at this point if they don't commit more than 1 monster into something. And they can only normal summon 1 monster if they can't get rid of the Rivalry, unless you're in a mirror match and unless they're playing hand traps that are the Ghost Girls, which then they can set the Ghost Girls. And you have the negate from the Baller Drought as well, which is dealing with another card. So essentially they have 2 cards to deal with you with this particular field. That's nuts. This is the peak performance of zombies, is having Super Poly, Rivalry, Baller Drought, and your copy of Zombie World on your side of the field. That's peak performance right there. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's it for the test hands, guys. That was pretty much how the deck works. It's less swarm, more control, is if you keep that in mind about zombies, which what's really cool about them. And you have a little bit of a beatdown if you can get a level 7 synchro off, which as you can see, it's not really hard to synchro in this deck at all. We summoned Void Ogre, which could have been Beals, or could have been any of your XY or Link monsters that you wanted it to be, or anything that you want in the extra deck. Basically, in the extra deck, you can reach out and touch anything that you want, which is what's really cool. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad. Definitely tell what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and check out the deck list down in the description because you guys can check out the deck profile down there as well. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.